Ooh, I want to add one thing that I keep forgetting to this, and if you don't know what video this is a reply to, don't worry. I'm replying to my own video. I will approve it. You can see. It's just like video I made a few minutes ago. Okay, I understand that getting the pleasures that an individual feels, that in Mandem your position is it feels good for a person, but it doesn't really amount to anything. You can't really justify existence. Okay, so even if you had no material pleasures in your system, you can't really still assign. It's like, yeah, but whatever. Why even do it at all? There's no end. And to that, I make a bit of the argument in the last video about, you get the area under the curve, right? But my real point is that we're programmed to seek pleasures. We're programmed to seek pleasures. We don't need a philosophical system to justify seeking pleasures. We do that already. Moral system. It's good to have one that explains it, but we don't need a moral system that justifies seeking pleasures. We already do that. We need a moral system that makes it so that that makes it so that our seeking pleasures doesn't screw up the whole world or other people's situation or even our own situation. That's the whole point about a personal morality. What behavior should you do for your own personal morality, not to screw up your own situation? It's like, don't cheat around with other people's significant others behind people's backs, because it's immoral to do to those other people. And also, you'll fuck up your own life trying to do that. You'll get in some situations you don't want to be in. Okay, so, but in general, we're talking about this morality on the social level, groups of people, and we already are going to, we have those ape and lizard brains that give us that. We don't need, there's biological survival reasons from the DNA of why that's all there. But that's the given at the moral level. That's a given. We're trying to have a system that takes those urges and puts them to a productive use, which means what? Well, it's arbitrary, which means more satisfaction of those urges. And that in itself is not good enough, except there's no problem with it if somehow as we build that up and increase the pleasures we can get, and it's straightforward too, like having a road that you can easily get to a theater increases your pleasure because you get to go to the theater. So infrastructure all leads to that. And if you have a system of infrastructure like that, where people are not causing misery to others, where your pleasure doesn't require getting a slave or using slave labor products in other countries, then that would be acceptable, right? Acceptable. And, in a metaphysical sense, basically, objectively, there's still no point to that. But there'll be a bunch of happy people and no objective, wrong. Now, of course, I don't believe we could get to no objective. I would think there'd be some criminals, but it could be minimized. We have just still a huge amount of this. Just the fact that there's war still in the world shows that, we are injecting suffering on each other for our system. And so we can do huge improvements on that. That's not necessary. Now, we can't necessarily move it out to the natural environment, but even the natural environment does a lot better than us. I mean, even the fact that someone's babies are gotten or the weakest in the herd, I mean, they are the weakest, and more babies can be born, and there's a balance to it. And, the fact that the slowest one gets taken leads to faster offspring and those cousins of those lost ones. And it is tragic, and you watch nature programs, you see the tragedy. But I see it almost, that's where we can see tragedy in the Greek sense of tragedy, where it's tragic, but that's the way life is. I'm not into the human tragedies anymore. I think we can get beyond the true human tragedies and just have, poetic tragedies like someone loves someone so much they did the wrong thing so that they didn't get loved in return. You write a story that's tragic. Anyway, I'll talk to you later. And cheers.